Well, as we know, we have been covering the World Economic Forum on Africa that has just concluded in Cape Town. Our CNBC Africa's Thomas Murray spoke to Richard Kiplagat. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Africa Practice about the African mining vision as well as the importance of building regulations that drive growth.
The African mining vision is a mechanism that has been put together by the United Nations Economic Commission on Africa, and that's designed to ensure that the views and priorities of the African citizen and of African countries are integrated in the policies and agenda for national and continental-wide exploitation of extractives. It's fundamentally about creating dialogue right from the grassroots that boils up into national platforms and then flows into policies and bills that frame the regulatory environment for mining.
Let's stick with the regulatory environment, how important that is to facilitate growth in this industry where Africa has long been primarily an exporter of raw materials. How do we use regulation to climb the value chain within Africa?
Well, the challenge with the regulation is that you need a balance between the investor's need for a return as well as the need to control and manage the impact both on community and environment of extractive industries. Now that balance is best achieved when you have a dialogue between all the critical parties. At Africa Practice, we call that shared advantage, where in a non-coercive environment, you're able to bring both the civil society, business, and government together and agree on a common platform. Currently, there have been very few initiatives where these parties have come together in that kind of dialogue. And so you find regulation often either favors or leans too much to one side or too much to another side. And I think that there's a lot of room for improvement around how we build really dynamic regulation that drives growth, but that is also respectful and cognizant of the needs and priorities of the local communities.
Are there certain examples of markets who are getting this right in terms of striking that balance between the needs of the corporate and the needs of the state? Any examples that you want to share with us?
Well, I think that a long-standing one has been, if you look at Botswana and the evolution of the mining industry in Botswana. It's certainly an environment where you can see an evolution over time, where capacity has been built domestically, where there has been great collaboration both with the government and with the significant investors, and where the country as a whole has managed the revenues from mining in a transparent way and in an impactful way for the citizens.
I actually want to ask you about some of the other sectors that you have an expertise in, oil and gas, energy, technology. What for you are the key growth markets where investors will be moving into Africa in the future?
So I'm going to answer that in a very broad sense. But the key growth markets are the markets that provide investors with the best clarity around investor climate. Consistent policy, clear regulation, clear opportunities to deal with dispute resolution. Security is a big issue today. So those are the things that governments and those that are interested in driving investment on the continent need to focus on. There are pockets where you see those kind of environments being prevalent, but many African countries need to do more around really driving improvements around the investment climate and the operation environment.
And then finally, we're at the World Economic Forum on Africa. What for you are the key outcomes that you hope to see achieved from this forum?
really two things. I think the first one is very, very clear that the growth story in Africa needs to have an impact on the ordinary citizen. So the issue of inequality is a critical issue, and we need to go beyond recognizing that it's a problem to finding concrete ways that we can deal with inclusive, high-quality growth, not high-quantity growth. The second thing for me is around how do we make sure that we take the excitement and the funds and the resources that are looking for a home in Africa and ensure that we put in place mechanisms for accelerated absorption of those resources, removal of bottlenecks, improvement of processes in order to have impact, a return on that investment, and then renewed investment to follow that.